inherently we are afraid of what we don't know. So when you hear something that's really hard to believe, even though there's some facts that stand behind that, you really have a difficult time in believing that and tend to be almost afraid to fight for that if you think it's right. So you just go on living your everyday life. Now, I'm going to explain to you here how attorneys have created this system of massive destruction in America. My name is Dave Mongello. I run Mongello's Auto Service in Lockport, New York. If you can support my business, I go above and beyond trying to teach this stuff, and it's the truth, 100% the truth. But I'm like any other business owner. I could use the help. So please, you need tires, brakes, collision repair, truck accessories. I do it all. In 1776, our forefathers did something unbelievable. They made a land that was secured by natural law. So our law of America says right in the Declaration of Independence, we live under law of nature and nature's God, which we are the first country in the nation founded under natural, in the world founded under natural law. But there's been a problem ever since the inception, as there's a lot of people that don't like giving so much power to the individual people in the selected country. There was a 13th Amendment that was ratified. And this amendment read, if any citizen of the United States shall accept a claim or receive or retain any title of nobility or honor, or shall without the consent of Congress accept or retain any present pension, office, or involvement of any kind whatsoever from any emperor, king, prince, or foreign power, such person shall cease to be a citizen of the United States and shall be incapable of holding any office of trust or profit under them or either of them. Now, label of nobility. Now, if you notice, attorneys, they have ESQ after their name. Well, that's a label, Esquire. That's a label of nobility. That's below a knight and above a common person. So the 13th Amendment basically said that if you have this label of nobility, you could not be a citizen or elected into office in the United States. Well, what happened is the 13th Amendment just disappeared. Even though it was ratified, it just up and vanished. And now the 13th Amendment that went in place of that was the abolition of slavery. But this has very interesting wording in it. Now, the reason why I'm going on this tangent here of attorneys is that they created an entity called a corporation to protect criminal enterprises, the big bankers, the big business people that want to abuse the system and make them unaccountable for their actions. And the primary thing that has happened is pollution. You look at here in Lockport, we have the 18-Mile Creek. It's one of the worst polluted creeks in the world, and yet who's accountable for that? Well, what happens is the corporation goes belly up, and then it disappears. And the people that ran the corporation, they're not liable because it was an individual person. So I'm going to show you how these attorneys did it in both political parties to create this system that was paid off with money, and they've done this. And they've kind of made us subject to these rules and the regulation they have manipulated and have done. And believe it or not, this doesn't matter. All what they did doesn't matter. We have the ability to fix it using the jury and the grand jury system, but they don't want us to know that either. The 13th Amendment that now exists reads this: neither slavery nor involuntary servitude except as punishment for crime whereof the party shall have been duly convicted shall exist within the United States or any place subject to their jurisdiction. You know, the key words in there is involuntary servitude. Why would they even put that in there? Because we want to abolish slavery, but they're saying that people can involuntarily be slaves. So this is under code E360 on the internet under the City of Lockport Codes and Rules under Corporations and Corporate Powers. The citizens of the state, from time to time, residing in said city shall continue to be a corporation by the name of the City of Lockport. Said corporation shall be a municipal corporation with all the powers of a municipal corporation under the laws of the state. So how are they calling you a corporation, and why are they calling you a corporation? Well, this is why they've done this. And so you understand what a corporation is and why they did it. They only did it to remove accountability. So let's look to a Black's Law Dictionary. It is a dictionary. This one I'm using here is first edition. It's 1891 because it is it's not meddled with, because the newer ones are actually leaving definitions out, so you don't know what they mean. So in Black's Law Dictionary, we're going to have to look up the definition of person. Person, a man considered according to the rank he holds in society, with all the rights to which the place he holds entitles him. Notice rights, entitlement, and a rank. That means you're putting you in a certain position, where the Declaration of Independence says all men are created equal. Well, if all men are created equal, how can they create a different rank? Okay, a human being considered as capable of having rights and of being charged with duties, while a thing is the object over which rights may be exercised. Persons are divided by law into natural and artificial. Natural persons are such as God and nature formed us. Artificial are such as created and devised by human laws for the purpose of society and government, which are called corporations. So they created an entity called a corporation to create another phony person to protect that person, because then if they abolish that corporation, it just disappeared and nobody's accountable. And this is where I feel the grand jury and the jury system have a right to say, no, you can't be behind this law, you're going to be prosecuted and do it. And this is why they don't want us to understand the power of the grand jury system. Remember one thing, rights are not gifts by government. So we're going to look at, this is on Cornell website under definitions. Persons include a natural person, including an individual Indian, a corporation, a partnership, and incorporated entity. Also, they legally define the term United States as a federal corporation. Another thing what they're doing is the term United States means the several states of the United States, the District of Columbia, the Commonwealth of Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, American Samoa, Guam, the Commonwealth of Northwestern Mariana Islands, and the Trust Territory of the Pacific Islands, and some other alleged states. But you notice that it says means several states. Well, several states doesn't mean the state we live in, because when you're signing your driver's license, your taxes, they ask you, are you a citizen of the United States? Well, the United States only exists in the District of Columbia. It's only so many square miles around the capital. So are you a citizen there, or are you a citizen of the state where you live? But if you're saying that you're a citizen of the United States, you're agreeing to be a corporation under the rules of that corporation, in which you're not, because we are citizens of New York. Now, where do you live? Do you live in New York State, or do you live in the state of New York? This is another word game that I've found. Now, the state of New York, what is it a state of? Well, it's a state of the District of Columbia, making it a corporation. Where New York State was the sovereign state created by the Declaration, or secured by the Declaration of Independence and protected by the Bill of Rights in the Constitution. So New York State has its own constitution. But does it really apply when they made the state subject to the federal government? Which is a big question. We're not subject to the federal government. The federal government's power comes from the state and comes from the power of the people through the county. So, but by agreeing to be a corporation, by signing our rights away and accepting the money from the federal government, we are giving up our rights. This is what is really going on. What happened to the United States of America? It says, beginning at the stone bound set and ground at a southeasterly side line of State Highway number 3, leading from Bar Harbor, Seal Harbor, said stone bound marking the northeasterly corner of a lot formerly belonging to the trust of Louise Morel, now owned by the Jackson Laboratories. Said stone bound also marked the northeasterly corner or the land belonging to the United States of America. They're legally defining the United States of America as all the states because the states created the United States of America as it states in the Declaration of Independence. The United, which is small, and it says States of America in the Declaration of Independence. So, looking up the definition of the word citizen in Black's Law Dictionary, it's very interesting. And in America, one who is under the Constitution of the laws, Constitution and laws of the United States. Well, we're not under the Constitution because we created the Constitution. So right there, it says that something legally defined as a citizen, not a people, because, you know, we the people ordained and established the Constitution. And if you notice, attorneys, they'll call themselves people, and the politicians they represent, they call themselves people too, because people are at a different status of royalty in America. The people are we the people. Secured the Declaration of Independence. The citizen in general, a member of a free city or jural society, civitas, possessing all the rights and privileges which can be enjoyed any person under its constitution and government, and subject to the corresponding duties. In American law, one who's under the constitutional laws of the United States has a right to vote for civil officers and himself qualified to fill effective offices. It says one of the sovereign people. And when you look at these definitions, all the different paragraphs defines it differently. So you can be one of the sovereign people, a constitutional member of sovereignty synonymous with the people, a member of the civil state, and the term citizen has come to us derived from antiquity. It appears to have been used in the Roman government to designate a person who had the freedom of the city and the right to exercise all political civil privileges. So there it states privileges. We don't have privileges in America. We have rights. If the government gave us privileges, we'd be then subjects and we would then elect masters. But you see what's going on here? They've kind of switched everything around. And then it goes on to say the definition it applies to the 14th Amendment. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States in the state where they reside. That is words directly out of the 14th Amendment, which is ratified in the late 1800s, basically taking the word person, making it a citizen, a subject to the jurisdiction, calling them a citizen. So, and you notice they didn't use the word people. Because they can't, because the people was already legally defined as people with equal protection and equal rights, and had rights, and inalienable rights secured by the Declaration of Independence. So they created this entity called a citizen and a person to make you subject to the elected officials that you elect that actually are your masters. So what does this all mean? This means that the attorneys were the root of the problems in society, taking our rights away, taking accountability away from the big corporate people, paying for their wages, and what happens to the attorneys? They become judges. And our forefathers never intended judges to judge us because they knew that the judges were controlled by the king way back then. So that's why they secured the common law system with the grand jury and the jury to protect our rights to decide if we're guilty and innocent or anything. But now they put a judge who's an ex-attorney in charge of deciding a law, what they say is a law, to then protect the corporations that they then created to make them disappear into thin air. Statement from Luke 11:52. Woe to you, lawyers, for you have taken away the key to knowledge. You entered into, and not yourselves. Have you ever noticed you never seen attorneys suing attorneys? You don't see attorneys suing judges. And then if a judge makes a wrong decision, your only remedy is to file an appeal in a department appellate court where you have 4 to 5 judges sit there to decide whether or not that other judge did something wrong. So we got more attorneys that are judges deciding if another judge did something wrong. Now, at what point do the decisions from the people come to play? Living in this profession anymore, being an attorney, because really what can you do? And they're to blame for almost everything that's going on in society that's dysfunctional. Well, wait a second. We're to blame. Because we didn't realize how insignificant attorneys really are supposed to be. Thanks for listening. This is Dave Mongello from Mongello's. If you got any questions about this stuff, stop by the shop at 6115 Robinson Road. My number here is 716-625-6125. If you need any auto service, truck accessories, collision repair, please reach out to me. Thank you.